We could see a historic vote in Parliament, paving the way for Theresa May to trigger our exit from the EU.
But it won't be without a fight. A number of Tory MPs could still rebel against the bill. Joining us now from Loughborough is Conservative MP Nicky Morgan, who wants a commitment from the government that MPs will have a meaningful vote on the final deal. Good morning to you, Nicky Morgan. What is a meaningful vote? I thought all votes were meaningful.
Well, a vote is meaningful if the government is actually going to listen, obviously, to what MPs say. And so far, we've had an assurance from ministers that there will be a vote if a deal is reached, if the government reaches an agreement with the EU. But what's missing and what's picked up in the Lords Amendment, which is what we'll be discussing today, is what happens if there is no deal, no agreement. And what I and other colleagues are saying is that MPs should have a vote, a say, an opportunity to put our constituents' views on that at that time.
Is that what you're going to vote for today? Are you rebelling against the government and potentially delaying the trigger?
Well, certainly, it's not about delaying the trigger. It's not about delaying or stopping Brexit, which I know is what some people are claiming. We're going to listen very carefully to what ministers say today. We understand that the Prime Minister and the government don't want the bill to be amended. They don't want the amendments from the Lords to be accepted, and we understand that, but we do need a verbal assurance from the Minister at the dispatch box in the House of Commons saying whatever the outcome of the negotiations, MPs will have a say at that stage.
The thing is that the government, as far as I understand it, have said that MPs will have a vote. So what is the change in this language, in the verbal assurance that you're waiting for?
Well, the change, as I say, is that we have had an assurance if there is an agreement reached. But it may be, and I think the Foreign Affairs Select Committee of the House of Commons yesterday said that the government reaching no deal with the EU is a very real possibility. Now, we all hope there will be a deal. The Prime Minister has made it clear that we're going to have an ongoing partnership with the EU, although we won't be members of the EU. And that's what we want to see happen. But it's possible there may well be no deal, in which case MPs should have a say. I think my constituents and other constituents would expect members of Parliament to have a say on their behalf if the government took the decision that leaving with no deal was the best option for Britain. And it might very well be that that is the right option, that the government is able to explain that, MPs are able to support that. But I think they would expect us, our constituents, to have a say on that outcome.
Why are you so worried about no deal? I mean, what happens, do you think, that's so bad if we actually just come out of the European Union with no deal and crash on our own under World Trade Organization tariffs?
Well, because I think of those tariffs, because of the economic consequences. There was a report from the Treasury last week just saying what the implications would be for jobs and employment. But there are also some industries where there are no WTO tariffs. So things like digital rights, aviation rights and flights, things that we take for granted. Now, look, things are going to change. We are going to leave the European Union. Article 50 is going to be triggered. But I think what everyone is saying is let's do this in an orderly and well-negotiated way. And I think that's what the Prime Minister wants. I think that's what we all want to see. But leaving with no deal could very well be a very bad deal, in which case, again, as I say, constituents like mine, I represent a large international outward-facing university, would expect us to have a say.
The problem is you had Boris Johnson yesterday saying no problem if there's no deal. You had Liam Fox saying the complete opposite. You've got Michael Heseltine, who we've got on in an hour, saying Boris is talking rubbish. No one watching any of this can have any clear, consistent idea of what the hell's going on. And I guess people will say about you, Nicky Morgan, with the greatest of respect, you know, Theresa May fired you, and this is just the revenge of a spurned minister who wants to get back at the Prime Minister and damage her.
People might say whatever they want to say. You have to have a thick skin in politics. You know, I think backbench MPs like me are there to stand up for our constituents, and this is a matter that's going to affect the country and generations to come for decades to come. So it's important that we all contribute, that Parliament is involved. You know, those campaigning like Boris Johnson talked about taking back control. Well, where did they think that control was going to go? It's got to come back to Parliament. That's why Parliament is having a say and voting to trigger Article 50, and why Parliament must continue to have a say throughout the negotiations and at the end of this process too, and that's very important. And you're right, nobody knows what is going to happen, and that's why, again, it's critical that MPs have a say whether an agreement is reached or whether it is not reached.
OK. Nicky Morgan, thanks very much indeed.